All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 5th, 2022 Hempstead Town Board meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Clavin.
Here.
Councilman Carini.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Councilwoman Miller.
Here.
Councilman Muscarella.
Here. I'm going to please rise and ask Councilwoman Miller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the first public hearing.
On the first public hearing, we have one regarding regulations and restrictions and to limit parking in Baldwin and near Island Park and Wantagh.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard in this? Okay, I do have a slip on this. Madam Meriday? Good evening. If you can give me an address for the record.
Good evening. Mita J. Meriday. My question relates to, again, what streets are we talking about with regard to limiting the parking, and what will be the action plan to address those who are violating the regulation?
Identify yourself.
Good evening, Supervisor Clavin, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, and Town Board members. The three traffic items on item number one, the first one in Baldwin, is to reestablish the 1 hour parking on the south side of Merrick Road, just east of Lakeside Drive. There was a problem with the store owners. We were originally going to implement the handicap parking space for a tenant who lived above the stores, but there's a dispute between the landlord and the tenant over providing a handicap parking space. So for now, we have to put the parking back to the way it was for the stores that are there.
So the tenant that requires a handicap parking spot is now going to have to do what?
Well, we technically need approval or a written request from the landlord on behalf of the tenant, but the landlord is not cooperating. Last I spoke on this matter with someone, the resident has contacted Nassau County Office of Physically Challenged to deal with the landlord under the Civil Liberties Act to try to get the landlord to cooperate with the tenant in providing a handicap spot for her, either in the rear of the building or to help her accommodate on Merrick Road, which once we get the letter from the property owner, then we can proceed to move forward.
So this is going to revert back to becoming 1 hour parking, a regulated parking spot with a parking meter, or just the sign that says 1 hour parking? And how is that going to be regulated so that whoever's parking there is following the law?
Well, there was originally 1 hour parking there, so we had to originally repeal it to open up 20 feet of parking for the handicap, and then reestablish the 1 hour parking on either side of the signs for the handicap. But since we're not putting the handicap parking in, we have to reestablish the existing law that was there for the area in front of the stores, that it'll all be 1 hour parking.
And the county police enforce that, correct?
They let us do what we need to do to help the residents.
But I'm saying, if it
yes.
comes for a ticket, it goes to the county police department, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting. So I'm still concerned as to what is the outcome for the disabled resident. I'm still not clear with that, because if they
I think he just said that they went to Nassau County to seek, what was it again? They went to
The
Nassau.
Office of Physically Challenged. There's a civil liberties that the tenant has taken up with the county, that the landlord is violating her rights and not giving her a handicap spot. So the county has to work with the landlord before they can come back to us for the handicap parking.
So you can't keep the spot handicapped at present, is what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Correct.
That's correct.
That's correct.
So that's correct, that you can't, so the handicapped person is just out of luck?
No, it's not out of luck at all. Again, I think this will be the third time he just said they're working with the Nassau County Department
No, he
to
just
see
said
about
that he was reverting it back to 1 hour.
No, but then
That's what
he said in his answer that worked with Nassau County, the Office of the Disabled, to try and get them actually to get involved, to get that landlord to write that letter so they can get that parking spot. Am I correct about that?
Right, yes, we have to have it legally established as a 1 hour parking, as it was before we went and did the case for the handicap parking.
I see. Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other slips on number one. Anybody else in the audience didn't sign in for item number one, wishes to be heard?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye?
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Inwood, Uniondale, Wantaw, and West Hempstead.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I don't have any slips. Any member of the public who didn't sign in wishes to be heard on item number two? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the proposed local law and that it should be passed into law.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye?
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Roosevelt.
Okay, member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, any member of the public did not sign in wishes to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the proposed local law and recommend that it be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye?
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding traffic regulations in the vicinity of schools in Oceanside and Uniondale.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips. Any member of the public did sign in for this item wish to be heard? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye?
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in Baldwin, Belmore, Inwood, Roosevelt, and Uniondale.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips. Any member of the public did not sign in wishes to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the proposed legislation and that it be adopted into law.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding cemeteries.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I don't have any slips on this. Any member of the public didn't sign in wishes to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that we accept the proposed local law.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye?
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the application of Janton Realty LLC for a variance from the provisions of the GSS ordinance to add a canopy over an existing pump island, convert service bays to a convenience store, and operate a self-service in Merrick.
All right, please give your name and address to the record for your presentation.
Yes, good evening, Supervisor Clavin, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, honorable members of the board, Madam Clerk, Counsel, Kevin O'Brien. On behalf of the applicant, O'Brien Law PC, offices at 462 Sagamore Avenue, East Williston, New York. Just before I get going, one thing I have to say is that, off the record, my whole family's in the HVAC business. I'm the only one not. Fourth generation HVAC. Every time I walk into this thing, the temperature is perfect. So whoever your HVAC guy is doing a terrific
Kevin,
job.
you like the temperature today, or you don't like the temperature?
I like the temperature. I think it's terrific. I love it.
Wonderful. We were trying to mix it just perfect for you, so this worked out very well.
Well, thank you. My brother might want to poach him, but thank you. So this is an application by Janton Realty involving an existing service station known as 8086 Hempstead Babylon Turnpike in Merrick. Existing gasoline service station. The current operators owned it for roughly 7 or 8 years. Service station goes back probably over 50 years ago, and in or about 2011, used to be operated as a Getty service station, and in about 2011, it was included into the GSS zoning district, and it really, at that time, they had some plans for it. Getty ultimately went bankrupt, sold the property. My client purchased the property in accordance with the county regulations, not necessarily part of this application, but as part of the history. of it is they removed and replaced the existing underground gasoline storage tanks. There were two 12,000 underground gasoline storage tanks, double wall fiberglass, meet all the criteria of the feds, the state, the county, and the town. So inasmuch as we did appear before the board in 2011, what is required is a modification or variance from the provisions of the GSS that was granted at that time. So what the applicant is seeking to do, it's currently operating as a gasoline service station. There are two repair bays, but the repair bays have not been operated. There's a small little snack shop within what would be the office area, and essentially what they'd like to do is take those two service bays. There is an existing dispensers at this location, and they'd like to erect a canopy over the existing pump island. Continue to operate self-service with the provisions that split island service is provided, meaning that between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for those people desiring, the handicapped, the elderly, seeking self-service operation, they can have that. There'd be no repair of automobiles at the premises. It would just simply be relatively small, comparatively speaking. I think the total square footage is less than 1,000 square feet. So it's a relatively small location. I did look at the report prepared by Mr. Tarano, and any of the open permits that are there really relate to this application, and it's necessary as part of the application process to file the building permit applications and then proceed to this board. So relatively simple application, convert the bays to the convenience operation, erect the canopy, no change in the footprint or anything along those lines. So we'd like the board's favorable discretion in connection with the application, and I'd be willing to answer any questions that the board or any interested observers might have.
Okay. Kevin, there are a number of residents here. Just try, what was it, next door to the Smith Street Deli?
Yes.
World famous Smith Street Deli? Okay.
Yes.
Right next there. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure if I heard the question, but yes, we're located on the southeast corner of Smith Street and Hempstead Babylon Turnpike, and the Smith Street Deli is essentially just behind us. So,
gotcha.
So behind the service station, and actually our buildings are relatively close to one another. Their parking is sort of on the other side of their building. I mean, there is a front entrance as well, but I guess, yeah, if you look at it, their parking is on the opposite side of the building.
Okay. I know that you're here.
And ours is a completely sort of different operation in the sense that our focus actually is in the sale of petroleum products, but there is a need for some sort of ancillary support. But the deli has seating, hot foods, and the like. There's no seating or hot foods or anything like that in the service station.
Very, very familiar with the deli.
Okay.
It's a mainstay. It's a great place in the area.
It's a great.
It really is. Just a quick one to follow up with you. I saw. Did you say the operation hours for the gas station would be 7 to 7? Is that what you said?
No.
Okay.
What I'm saying, that's split island service, meaning
Okay.
that sometimes there's a concern whether or not the handicapped or the elderly and stuff like that would be. So I believe it's actually a state requirement, but that, we certainly, provide, have provided, will continue to provide, at least between those hours of operation, full service, for the handicapped, the elderly, and those seeking.
Okay. All right. Okay. We have a number of residents who are here tonight, so I should kind of stand down and we'll see if they're answering questions at the end. First off, I see Kelly Powers. Hi, Ms. Powers, if you'd like to speak? If you do, you have to go to the back mic, okay? Give your name and address. I'll come back to you. No, I'm joking with you. No. How about we'll go with James Kim? James Kim? Did you want to be heard, sir? If you go to the back mic there and give your name and address for the record, that would be great, Mr. Kim. Hi, Mr. Kim. Give me a name and address. That'd be great.
James Kim, 1736 Smith Street, Delhi. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, we recently took over at the end of the year, 2021. We actually didn't receive any notice of this. A neighbor brought it to us. I actually called the previous owner. He didn't receive any notice either.
Okay.
And I called the owner before him, Doug Gerber, and he received notice. So we actually haven't really had any time to properly go.
Take a look at, now, you homeowner right there? What,
Oh, no, we're a business owner, and we have the apartment on the side also.
parking, which business do you know own?
The Street Deli.
You do own the deli, okay. All right, so Kevin, we have a little bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
New owner hasn't talked yet to.
There's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Two businesses, but
Now, I'm gonna take it that your partner, is it right there? So, what? No, I didn't mean you. So you haven't talked to him at all about the whole proposal, Kevin? Regardless of what it is, but I'd like it if we could at the end just give your information so they could follow up. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Certainly, meet, discuss whatever we need to do. I think the present owners maybe had a relationship with the prior owner, and now this is relatively new. I guess we're in, April, so I think started here at this time. But by all means, I'll give you my card, and we'll sit in the back and talk as well.
okay, great.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Kim?
Yeah, that's acceptable. Thank you.
Okay. And congratulations on taking over the deli. It really is a great
We'll
place.
try our best to maintain it.
Dude, the place rocks, so good.
Thank you.
Next, I have Mangcha Kim. Yeah. She's all right? Okay. Now I have Fran Sadakapita. Yes. Hi, how you doing? If you go to the back there and give your name and address to the record, that'd be great.
Yes, I'm prepared.
If you just give your name and address to the record.
Fran Santa Capita, 65 Babylon Turnpike. I'm here for myself and also the neighbor that lives directly across from the said premise, 89, I think it's 89 Babylon Turnpike, E-Halt. He's given me his dissent. He led up something probably in 2011 when it was a convenience store and was selling selling beer to underage children. I live on the block. It doesn't have any on-street parking. As they said, the deli is right next door. It's a 2-lane highway, no shoulders. When we had the convenience store for a bit of time before, what happened was that there was so much trash and traffic from it. And the other thing, the gentleman from Smith Street spoke about not getting notices. There's 2 homes that just went for sale, and the owners, they're in contract now. So it seems a funny time to bring this up again. I've spoken to a couple of, the neighbor right next door on Babylon Turnpike never received a notice either. So I'm not so certain. I can't understand what the positive aspect of this particular renovation would do for the neighborhood. I don't think it could add to the neighborhood. It's the gas station right now. It's not busy. Maybe with the convenience store, it will become busy. And we've seen this before, and it has not been a positive thing for the area. I hadn't expected to have to speak.
That's okay. Like I said, you did great. Okay.
So we're not sure why the town would actually say something about this. It's a small area. Smith Street Deli is directly next to it. There's no parking on Smith Street because that's the entrance into the gas station. There's no parking on Babylon Turnpike. And as I spoke, it's a small area with two different islands of pumps. You put a canopy over there. I can't imagine where there's a 7-Eleven 3 blocks away. I don't understand why we need a convenience store.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I don't have any other slips. Is there anybody on this item that hasn't been heard that wants to be heard that did not sign in? Okay. Mr. O'Brien, did you want to conclude?
First off, if I could bring these down, or that's what I just submitted was a petition with approximately 70-plus signatures of people, mostly from the area, that are in support of the application. I would like the opportunity to meet with the gentleman in the back and discuss, whatever concerns he might have, competitive or otherwise, and report back to the board in connection with that. And, with respect to the use and operation, I mean, some of the things that were brought up were quite a while ago, prior to my client taking over the property. I've been to the site on several occasions. It's immaculate. I mean, since they've taken over, they've really done a terrific job over there. Sometimes when you have a repair-oriented facility, cars pile up and the like, you don't have that. You haven't had that, recently, and you won't have that with this type of operation. So the canopy itself is something that really is just over the pump island, so really doesn't have any sort of impact. All the lighting will be shielded and designed to be on the site itself and not sprayed beyond. So I think what we're proposing is reasonable. Will be an improvement to the site, to the area. Like I said, we've got good operators over there, and if I could, speak with the gentleman with the neighboring business, I'd like the opportunity to do that and then report back to the board, if that's okay with the board.
No, I prefer that, Mr. Kim and the neighbors came, and in particular, the next door neighbor is a business.
And anyone else who wants to speak, certainly not just limited, obviously, to the person next door, but anybody else,
I do think you need to reach out to the couple neighbors that were here and have a discussion with them, the new owner of Smith Street Deli. Melissa, you were here. Grab that lady's information, and we'll contact her and get any other residents that want to voice their concerns, and we'll get them in touch with you. I'm going to make a motion to reserve decision, just to let you know, to give you the opportunity to talk to the community, because it seems like there wasn't a full communication there.
Okay.
The other thing I would recommend on this is the two new neighbors that are purchasing, if you could reach out to them. They're going to be neighbors. It would just, it's just kind of, reaching out, getting the feedback from everybody. I appreciate it.
I'll try to get that, and I've been over there numerous times. I'll just knock on the doors as well.
Oh, she's raising her.
I have a question. My question is, the new owner, is he going to occupy any type of the operation at that gas station, or he's?
Yes, and when I say new owner, it's probably 7 or 8 years that he's been there.
So it's going to be owner occupied?
Yes.
And does he have other gas stations that he owner occupies, or no?
Yep, he does. They're beautiful.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I make the motion that we reserve decision.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go in the back and meet with
We've reserved decision on that, Mr. Kim. I know you're going to follow up with Mr. O'Brien. Thank you very much. I'll be following up on that as well. Madam Clerk, please call the next item on the decision calendar.
On the decision calendar, we have the application of Global Montello Group Corporation to include an existing gasoline service station within the GSS district to install storage tanks in Elmont.
Do I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and we adopt the item. I'd just like to let the people know who are operating that location that they have to be a little bit more neighborly, otherwise things aren't going to go so smoothly.
Okay, so that's a motion to adopt?
Yes.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the administrative calendar.
There are,
Do you want me to make this? Yes. Supervisor, before, oh, sorry. Sorry, Kate.
that's all right.
Go ahead.
There are items 9 through 46 on the administrative calendar. I also have one item that is of an emergency or urgent nature. It is entitled Resolution Authorizing the Execution of Certain Documents Relative to a Grant Award for Community Project Funding. This item will be added to the administrative calendar as item number 47.
Supervisor, I make a motion that we amend 43, 44, 45, and 46 from changes to the building zone ordinance to local laws.
All right.
And just to be clear, that is only regards to the actual calling. It's just for the calling of items 43, 44, 45, and 46 at our next meeting.
When we have a second on the record.
Wait a second, yep.
I second it already.
Yes, ma'am. Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk and Town Attorney, just so I get it right, we're going to move the administrative calendar in its entirety?
With those?
Yep.
Okay, so I move the administrative calendar in its entirety, which includes.
Okay.
9 through 47.
Second.
Okay, before we make a motion, I know I have, any member of the board wish to ever be heard? If not, I have a couple of slips.
Did we have a second on the record?
Do we have a second? He's second. On the administrative calendar, first I have Bonnie Garone. Good evening. Can you name and address for the record, please?
Bonnie Garone, Rockville Center. First, I have a question about item 17. It's accepting a new proposal from Lorraine Gregory Communications. On 12/7/21, a proposal was accepted for $47,500. Now you're accepting a proposal for $114,355, but there's no proposal attached. There is a price list attached, but those are prices for individual items, hourly, et cetera. It's not a proposal. And in fact, it was created on November 24th, well before the original contract. So can we please see the proposal? And I would think you'd want to see the proposal before you vote on it. Can someone share the proposal?
Someone, Ms. Garone, someone's walking up to the mic right now to reply to your answer. Good evening, and identify yourself for Ms. Garone.
Good evening. I'm Greg Blower, Director of Communications for the town. That proposal, actually, we took the money that was in that earlier proposal that you referred to, the resolution, and just continued it for the next year. It was an annual contract. And the reason why it's broken out like that, it's a supplement to the town's services. So when we're doing a public service announcement and we need certain services like a voice talent or something like that, we hire it. And that's the price that's good for the next year as well. I don't know if that answers enough for you.
No, it doesn't. I'd like to see the proposal.
Well, that price list is the proposal, what you have. So it depends on which ads we're using and what services we require for that particular time. Most of the time, we're able to use our internal sources as talent and voiceovers and things like that. And when we can't, we sub it out.
So this is simply adding additional money to the contract.
No, it's not adding additional money. What it's doing, the contract is over this month, so the money we had put into it prior that wasn't used, we just took out the old money and just continued for another year because we're able to use our internal services instead of buying them. So it's actually not increasing the amount of money they receive. It's actually less money for the next year.
I see. I don't think that answered my question, but I'm going to move on because time is limited. Items 22 and 23, both are examples of items that are increasing the prices paid to these vendors. And there are others as well, but these are just examples. I thought the point of doing multi-year contracts, especially for things like requirements contracts, was to lock in a price that's a good price for the town that will be continued into the future. And these are simply, item 23 says that the vendor's requesting a nominal price increase, which is deemed reasonable. But why are we letting people who bid a certain price simply come in after the fact and ask for more money? That seems to fly in the face of the idea of having a contract in the first place.
Good evening. Identify yourself. Thank you.
Good evening, Supervisor Dominic Longobardi, Deputy Town Controller. Good evening, Ms. Garone. The price increases you see here are what's going on in the marketplace right now. As many of you know, and as everybody has seen, we have major increases in prices everywhere we go. I think you can see it when you go shopping. So a lot of the vendors are asking for price increases because they can't afford to even provide us all of the goods and services that we ask for. And that's part of what's going on here. So part of what we're doing is trying to work with these vendors to make sure that we can continue the contracts we have, as well as make sure that they are be able to stay in business and have, we're working with them. We do ask for backup for all the price increases that they are asking for, not only from them, but from the vendors in which, and suppliers in which they work with. But a lot of process goes through, there's a lot of process that we go through to make sure that those price increases are valid, and we do try to work very hard with our vendors. Because in today's markets, in today's day and age, and in fact, there was an article in Newsday, if you read it yesterday, talking about how all of the prices have increased. I'll use something as simple as, in the article, they talked about a shipping container 3 years ago was $3,000 to $4,000. Today, it's $25,000 to $30,000. So prices have increased everywhere. I think you can see that, and that's what we're doing. We're working with our vendors to make sure. So, okay? Thank you.
Okay, item 33 is a third amendment to pay Cherry Road Technologies for 800 additional support hours for $104,000. Now, when I saw Cherry Road, it sounded familiar, and I looked through my notes and I saw why. It was mentioned at the March 1st board meeting when you voted on a contract with Oracle to re-implement and reinstall the enterprise resource planning system. And it was explained very well why that was necessary, and the example was used if you need to, reboot the operating system of your computer, et cetera, because the old one that we have, the old ERP, is not working. And the vendor that installed that and managed it and supported it was Cherry Road Technologies. So initially we paid them on the 2018 contract $4.8+ million. $488,000 of that was for services. We amended it in October 2020 to give them another $104,000 for services, and we amended it again on March 9th, 2021 for $156,000 more dollars to give us more hours of services. Now we're asking for 800 more hours for $104,000. If this is the vendor that caused the problem, why are we doing this?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ms. Groen. Obviously, I inherited that vendor from the previous administration. So,
right, but we're continuing to pay them.
Well, like I said, again, it's unfortunate the prior administration, put this upon the taxpayers. I agree with you on that.
My time
Thank
is
you so
over,
much.
but your time to answer
Thank you so much.
is not over.
Next, I have Ms. Meriday.
Why are we
Thank you so much, Ms. Groen. Ms. Meriday, thank you. Like I said, I inherited from the prior administration. I'm sure you could bring it up with the prior administration who stuck it to the taxpayers in the town of Hempstead. Now, Ms. Meriday?
It was a committee.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Groen. Ms. Groen, please. No, no, Ms. Groen, please. A little decorum. Now, Ms. Meriday's turn. Thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you continuing, but now it's Ms. Meriday's chance. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Groen. Okay, thank you. Give name and address for the record, please.
Not gonna happen. Mita J. Meriday. That's all you're gonna get. Question with regard to number 47. Why are we just saying this now, and where's the supporting documentation so that taxpayers that are already overstressed in this township can actually get some details with regard to a grant we'd love to hear about a grant because you're not taking money out of our pockets for a change. And as Ms. Barone said previously, we're not getting the answers that we need with regard to these multiple increases. And to the gentleman who responded about the HVAC, I would like to know which friend, relative, or patronage appointee has the HVAC contract, because apparently the town of Hempstead can't seem to find or to comply with state and federal guidelines to be inclusive of minority, women, veterans, and disabled businesses when they dole out these contracts or these political favors. So, in response to what we're here for today, I would like to know, again, with regard to looking at the recent state audit review of the town of Hempstead, that the board did not adopt realistic and appropriate budgets in the town's preliminary budgets for 2017 to 2020, and that was a pre-administration to the pre-administration that you're talking about, failed to execute, what it deemed to be wasteful spending. Town officials levied $3.6 million more in taxes that were necessary to fund budgeted expenditures. So I guess to Ms. Barone's point, that's where that emphasis came from. Town officials failed to monitor the annual budget timely, resulting in the budget board approving significant budget adjustments totaling $69.1 million between 9 and 11 months after the year end. So I think that resident and others have a right to question what is happening with the expenditures in this township and should be afforded some type of answer. And if anybody can bring me some additional information on number 47, which was just handed out when we got here, as to what is the value of this particular contract, I would be most appreciative. Also, as my time is waning, number 37. Item 37, if you look in the background information, is just a repeat of what's listed on the agenda. So I would also like to know which friends or relatives are going to be included in the additional salaries and occupations that are not listed in the support documentation. And once again, I call on the state to once again review its initial findings in this audit to review exactly what is happening with our budgeted funds. And lastly, before my time gets put out, and it's not like security has not tried to move me from this podium before, I'm wearing this
all
shirt
right,
that
Ms.
says
Meredith, thank you so much.
property
I
of
know I'm going to
Leavenworth,
ask
soon
Jack.
somebody else may be there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I know
much.
I'm going to ask Jack Libbert to identify himself and address number 47.
Thank you, Supervisor. I guess you did identify myself. Jack Libbert, Chief of Staff. Item 47 deals with grant proposals. They're not typical grants in that they are what they call member items from Congress, from our Congress people and our Senator Schumer. They contacted us within, I would say, the last week to 10 days when these funds were allocated to them and asked if we had any projects that we would like to receive some of the funds for. We don't know how much, if any, we'll get. We are preparing some applications now. I've been working with our staff and our grants committee to pull in the departments and get particular projects that we can get funded. They all require a resolution of approval from the governing body, which in this case is the town board, and that's why we had to do it on a rush basis. They have to be submitted around April 14th. Some of them are on 17th, depending which congressperson, but within the next week or so, before the next board meeting. So that's the reason.
That was nice of, because I know Senator Schumer's office and I think Congressman Garbarino reached out in particular and asked for the items last week, if I'm not mistaken.
That is right.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You would have to bring it up with Washington, D.C. Yeah, you'll have to go and bring it up with Senator Schumer and the members of Congress. Absolutely. Okay. Next, I have Karen Montalbano. Good evening. If you give me name and address for the record.
Karen Montalbano, 2611 Park Avenue, Baldwin, New York, Government Liaison for Baldwin Civic Association and past president. I know you know me, Mr. Clavin. Also, Mr. Liebert, you may be aware of me because I also spoke with Jerry Guardino in your office. I have major questions about number 44. Baldwin waited decades for revitalization. We were excited with community input to get the overlay zone passed, which led to the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative from New York State. We have projects moving forward. We have projects ready to go. Most of the money from the DRA goes into those projects which fall under the Baldwin overlay zone. Okay? My calls to your office have never been answered. I have never had a return phone call from your office, Mr. Clavin. Okay? So I'm here to ask you now, why are we putting a moratorium on a past overlay zone?
Jack, if you could identify. Thanks.
So, first of all, we're not putting it yet. We are, at this point, calling for a public hearing to determine whether or not it's the appropriate thing to do.
And why would it be appropriate?
I'm about to go there. But thank you for the prompt. The genesis of this moratorium is in reviewing the zoning and in looking at some of these applications and the grant. It was apparent that when this was adopted, which was not under this current administration, SECRA was not complied with. The State Environmental Quality Review Act was not properly complied with. SECRA requires that the adopting board take what they call a hard look at environmental concerns such as sewer, water, sanitation, traffic, a whole multitude of things. I mean, it gets down to things like archaeological history. That's really, I don't think, going to be a big concern in this one.
I sat here
But,
through the
excuse me.
meetings, and they were adopted.
Ms. Montalbano,
I didn't interrupt you.
Explaining.
Okay? These things were not done in the process. They were done as a generic early on when the overlay was adopted. There were not site-specific and cumulative impact studies done. We've had people look at this, and we're going to try to rectify those things quickly. We also provided in the moratorium, and obviously we'll be talking about this at the public hearing, and you'll have the opportunity, you know, to say it and bring forth whatever you have to say about it. Tonight is just determining a date when we can hear about it. But based on what I have seen and what I have learned, I think there were some deficiencies and they've got to be addressed. We're doing that, if anything, to protect the money that will be coming in from the state, hopefully. So this is not intended in any way to hinder things, but rather to facilitate them.
I have a quick question to add to that. Sure. Does this have anything to do with the fact that this resolution was passed in 2020 and a design review board was supposed to be appointed under the resolution by the town council with the input of the building department, and it has not been appointed?
Yeah, that is exactly what gave rise to this, because they have no authority to look at any environmental factors. The law was not really, in my view, and we'll see at the next hearing, was not crafted very artfully when it came down to the mechanisms and looking at things like environmental issues. There's nothing in there about it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to straighten it out.
And this is merely a calling for a hearing on this. There's no definitive answer we're going to vote on it, but this is more to safeguard the process and safeguard the funding because of these deficiencies that were identified. And we will discuss that. And like I said, there is no vote on this tonight. This is just calling for this because this raised to the level that we thought it warranted, and it was only a one-year moratorium, if that, and we'll be discussing also provisions that are in there as almost a fail-safe in some instances.
Correct. A project can seek relief from the moratorium. We provided that backstop also. So again, we're trying to do the appropriate thing in order to get this facilitated and to protect the grant.
So basically, you are setting us back another year on the development in Baldwin.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I see as preventing the whole thing from coming unglued, but will be determined, I guess, at the hearing. Thank you, I spoke too long.
So my other question is, all of a sudden, we just found out that this is happening. Nobody reached out to ask anybody in the Civic Association, which I am always in touch with your office, Mr. Carini, and also with your offices, Mr. Clavin, always available to talk to you. Nobody seems to have reached out to the chamber as far as I know. Why didn't anybody reach out to us and say, hi, this is what we would like to do, this is why we would like to do it?
Okay, well, that's why we have a calendar, and obviously you're here, and obviously it's going to be later in the month, and the people want to come down and speak about it, they can.
I'm here because somebody found it and put it out this afternoon, and I changed my plans to be here. That's why
Okay, it wasn't a secret, and I think it was on the calendar Friday. So
Okay.
it isn't a secret.
It was on the calendar Friday, but it's an important part of what is happening in Baldwin, and nobody who represents Baldwin bothered to inform Baldwin.
Okay, that's your opinion. Well, you're going to disagree. Like I said, we put it on the calendar for the public to see, and you're here.
But I'm here on my own discovery,
And
not because anybody was looking out for Baldwin.
Tonight is...
Actually, and again, tonight is simply a calling resolution, and it is because we are looking out for Baldwin. That's why.
I may beg to disagree. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any other slips on this. Does anybody else wish to be heard on item number 44 that didn't sign in, or any on the administrative calendar? Okay, great. If you go to the back, give your name and address, that'd be awesome.
Pearl Jacobs, President, Nostrum Garden Civic Association, Uniondale. Item 11, the property address in Uniondale and the nature of the violation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Could you speak into the...
Can you speak into the mic? I can't hear you.
Item 11, the property address in Uniondale and the nature of the violation.
Freddie, you and Danny going to address this? Commissioner, if you just identify yourself, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Frederick Jowitz, Acting Commissioner, Town of Hempstead, Department of Buildings. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. The particular complaint, all of these listed, all of these listed have to do with enforcement actions with respect to the safety of the house. Okay, in the particular case in Uniondale, it was a open and abandoned one-family dwelling, which had to be boarded up. Okay, again, we respond to the community, we react to the community, and we try to keep these structures safe at all times.
The property address, sir? Because I have a list on my computer where residents call me all the time.
It's 804 Park Place.
804 Park Place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have any of the slips in the administrative calendar? Anybody else wish to be heard? If not, may I please have a motion? Yep. We have the motion. Yep. Call the roll.
Second it.
And we have a second. So
Yep.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Supervisor, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini. Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, now that the formal town board meeting has been adjourned, the town will remain to listen to the comments of the residents. We'll start off with Felix Procacci. Good evening, sir. If you give your name and address to the record.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. We are now in the segment of the town board meeting often referred to as public comment. The unwritten rule that has been adopted over recent years is residents are not allowed to ask questions during this portion of the meeting. This rule is not stated in the meeting procedures nor on the town's website. To ensure all residents are aware of this rule, it should be published on the town's website and in the meeting procedures and mentioned at the beginning of every meeting and should apply to all speakers. Recently, town residents received a taxpayer-funded mailing for Passport Day. Town records show the total cost of this mailing is about $60,000. If it were possible to process a passport every 3 minutes, which it is not, the cost to town taxpayers to process each passport, not including labor, would be $250, which is more than the State Department application fees required to obtain an expedited passport. In addition, the mailing is not comprehensive. It does not mention that passport applications can be processed at the post office, and the Lynbrook Post Office processes passports on Sundays from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I brought this fact to the attention of former Supervisor Kate Murray many years ago, but unfortunately she, like Don Clavin, is more interested in getting her name and picture on a taxpayer-funded mailing than providing comprehensive information to residents or saving money. In Clavin's honoring of Kate Murray last month, he forgot to mention that Kate Murray was not only the first woman supervisor, she was also the first supervisor to bring the supervisor's budget to over $2 million in 2008, increasing it 40% in just 5 years to $2.12 million. A 40% increase in 5 years is quite an accomplishment, and Clavin should thank Murray for her $2 million patronage budget, because without it, candidate Clavin in 2019 could not have blamed former Supervisor Laura Gillen for the $2 million patronage budget that Supervisor Murray created. In fact, the actual expenditures of Laura Gillen's 2019 budget was $1.92 million, or $100,000 less than Murray's 2008 expenditures. While I'm on the topic of waste, last month several town officials gathered to throw away perfectly good vodka. They really thought that this publicity stunt was going to help Ukrainians suffering from the Russian invasion. A better idea would have been to get their restaurant friends to sell the liquor and give the proceeds to charities working to help Ukrainian victims. And so, Don, do you have anything for me to say to me now, or are you going to wait till I sit down before making your usual misleading comment?
Always a pleasure to see you, Mr. Ricacci. And I think Kate Murray's awesome. Anyway, next I have Bonnie Garone.
Second.
Good evening again. If you name and address for the record.
Bonnie Garone, Rockville Center. Over the years, we've heard many critics of the animal shelter. No one has cataloged all of the problems there, and it wouldn't be possible to do it in the 3-minute time limit. So people come up here and they talk about replacing the director. But I want to be clear. That's shorthand for the fact that the entire approach and philosophy needs to change. Replacing the director will not do that. What needs to happen is that there needs to be a clear direction from the supervisor and from the members of the town board that the approach and the philosophy of that shelter needs to change. To name just a few things that would involve and what needs to happen is it needs to be run for the betterment of the animals, not for the staff's convenience. There needs to be a robust adoption program headed by someone who is experienced and whose heart is in the job and wants to get these animals adopted with special events and other things to catch the public's attention. There needs to be a repaired relationship with rescues, a rescue program headed, again, by someone who is interested and experienced and wants to have these relationships around the county with rescue organizations. No animal should be a long-time resident of the shelter living in a cage. That's just a recipe, and we all know it. That's just a recipe to turn that animal into an animal that can't be adopted. There needs to be a comprehensive exercise and training program, which the shelter pays lip service to, but which doesn't exist. There needs to be true education programs including developing relationships with schools to educate children, to get the animals out of the shelter, to get them publicity. There needs to be a program that gives these animals the kinds of interactions and training and companionship that they need. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we're already paying the money to do this. With a $5.5 million budget, all of these things should be happening and more. That's why I still suggest that you form a committee that will make specific recommendations to you like these, but more specific recommendations. And actually it'll help give you, Supervisor, and the board cover to make the comprehensive changes that are needed. This shelter should be and can be a showplace for all of Long Island and beyond Long Island. And that should be something the town should want to do because it will reflect really well on all of the elected officials and on the town. I can't say enough. It's not enough to replace the director. There has to be comprehensive change, and you have to be behind it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next I have Ms. Meredith.
Where does one begin? Okay. It just continues to distress me, but I'm questioning, as Felix said so adequately in his speech. Really love that one. Love that one, Felix. With regard to how we're spending, about a year ago, I believe that there was $22 million that was designated for rental assistance under the COVID funding that I believe a couple of months ago seemed to be secretly, but right in public, moved into these, rainy day accounts, even though we were told that year or two ago in the midst of COVID that those funds were being directly utilized for resources that residents vitally needed. And then we start 2022 with money that speaks directly to COVID relief, because you have to list it that way in the agenda, that you're moving it to these rainy day accounts. And it really kind of reinforces my request to state and federal regulators, since Newsday can't get beyond the advertising dollars that they receive from the town of Hempstead to do any investigative journalism, to determine exactly where our expenditures are going. So there was $22 million in rental assistance, and there was a whole big hoopla in one of these colorful publications talking about the rental assistance. And, again, the audit from New York State pointed out that the budget and the fund distribution from the town of Hempstead was faulty at best. So residents want to know, especially those that are in jeopardy of losing their homes if they've not already been evicted. Where did that $22 million go, Supervisor? And as we see more people, we're getting empty seats on the town board, so I don't know if people are just running for office or running away from potential indictments, that residents want to know where their money is going. We continue to have listings here without getting any information or backup support to determine where our money is going. You talk about putting grants in place when Newsday just did an editorial, an op-ed piece about the deplorable conditions of the patronage pit stop known as the Nassau University Medical Center, which on its own should be an outstanding center for our veterans, military families in the community. Guess what? It could generate revenue. It could create jobs. It could keep people housed who are seniors. Because I love this little mailer that's focused on older residents, but we don't take care of the older residents in this county, Councilwoman Gooseby, because I don't see any state law that designates you specifically a senior councilwoman until such time you're a council member, as with all of the other ones that are there, and we have a supervisor. So again, we want to know. The state needs to come forward, federal government needs to come forward, and again, property of Leavenworth, so it might be significant to someone who is sitting here or working for the town of Hempstead misrepresenting my interests.
Thank you, Ms. Meredith. Senior Councilwoman, I think next I see Stuart Kroll. Good evening. If you name and address for the record, Mr. Kroll.
Stu Kroll, Great Neck.
Welcome.
The town of Hempstead now has their TNR program running at full capacity. It is once again an excellent program. The unfortunate part of the equation is that the program was shut down infinitely too long for an excuse that had long since become rather lame. This is a virtually contactless program which didn't need to be shipped off to Central Vet. Our town was running a fundraiser where 200 people attended. The only problem is at the time the state limit was 50.
300.
The disturbing consequence of this is that there's a tremendous amount of cats dying on the street that needn't be there. This tremendous suffering of these cats was totally unnecessary. We would logically conclude that the shelter would be overrun with cats and kittens. This, however, does not appear to be the case. These cats should be running loose in the cattery, being socialized on the road to being placed in loving homes. If there are any cats at the shelter, they must be invisible. How many of our cats have been sent to Good Shepherd Sanctuary over the past few years? This is a feral cat sanctuary where there may very well have been and probably were adoptable cats sent there. Given that our shelter has a $5.5 million budget, one would expect a bustling facility with volunteers and employees readying animals for impending adoption. The reality of the situation is quite different from what one would logically expect. Our outdoor exercise pens are rarely, if ever, used, even on the best of weather days. Our cattery is empty to the best of my knowledge. There appears to be very few cats in the shelter whatsoever. Dogs are often languishing in filthy cages. If I were a cynical person, I would think that Pastore and the quote-unquote behaviorist trainer Fonte do not want any animals at the shelter. Pastore has more than once approved sending dogs to facilities later condemned due to horrific conditions. The last time occurred in Utica with conditions so heinous the Utica mayor was brought to tears. A few months prior, upon visiting this facility, he gave it his seal of approval. Fonte was clearly the least qualified of the two applicants for her position. She also asked for the most money. The other applicant, Ms. Sorrentino, had 30 years of experience, while Fonte had lied about most of her credentials. She has since gotten them. I would really like to know what buffoon of zero integrity picked her for the job. My last point concerns one of your employees, a Mr. Uri, who I believe has been transferred to the Highway Department, to the best of my knowledge. He has been charged with multiple counts of torturing animals. In any private company, he would have long since been suspended. While I don't live in the town, I do pay considerable state and federal taxes. It is insulting to the integrity of the town and its employees that such a man, while presumed innocent, has not been suspended and is working alongside law-abiding citizens. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Cole. Safe ride home. Next I have Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. I want to really just talk about one dog that has been in the shelter about 20 days or so. It's a pedigree husky. And I refer to this dog as the poster child of what is going on in that animal shelter. A dog like this should have been out immediately, if not into approved foster homes that would require the shelter to have a robust foster program, which it does not, or into Husky House, Northern Exposure Husky Rescue, which I know at least one of those have severed their ties with the animal shelter. I keep saying, Supervisor Clavin, these animals are one decision away from things turning around from you at that animal shelter. And I agree with Bonnie to the point of a philosophy. I do believe you cannot have that philosophy with the person running the shelter right now. In fact, he created and devastated many of those employees. If you think the animals are broken, you should have some conversations with some of those employees, really just trying to keep it together. I really wish the board would consider, instead of spending so much money on indefensible injury lawsuits, use the money to bring in experts, use the money for outreach, and use the money to benefit the animals, which is why you collect taxpayer money, not just to employ friends and family. It's imperative to bring in outside independent experts. There's not one person under that roof capable of bringing that shelter in a new direction. You need someone on the outside, and you need to give them the authority to make those changes and to hire the appropriate people. Right now, you basically have fill-ins. There's no rescue coordinator. that came from that background right now. I believe she's out. But other than that, there's no foster care provider to develop those relationships, foster coordinator. These are basically, they call themselves departments, which are just the same employees, just wearing 10 hats. So again, Supervisor, I urge you to make this decision. Those animals are counting on you, and it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Just, what was the name of the husky, if you knew?
There were two husky organizations. One
No, the one you said that was brought into the shelter.
The name of the dog was Moses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Judith Paul. Okay, Judith Paul. All right, next I have Mara Jacobitz. Okay, we'll call her back. She stepped out to the ladies' room. Herbert Paul? It's going to be Mara. Okay, if she comes back, let me know. Marlene Cohen? Is Mara speaking for all of you? Is that basically it? Okay. So let me just go through it. So that would go for Herbert. Marlene Cohen, she's going to speak for Marlene too? Okay? Okay. Well, in the interim, we'll call Pearl Jacobs.
$2 million in federal funding, Pearl Jacobs Uniondale. $2 million in federal funding was allocated by Congresswoman Rice, which was earmarked for Uniondale. My question is, where is the money? What project or projects will these monies fund? And when will the project or projects commence? There are two large signs on Front Street. They have been there for almost a year, and they depict Uniondale downtown revitalization. They have been there for almost a year, and there's nothing going on Front Street. Can you answer my question, please? And stop the clock, please. Thank you.
No, Ms. Jacobs, this is your comment to speak, and obviously when it comes to, I'm sure you speak to the Congresswoman quite a bit, she can tell you those, and we can always follow up with John Rodkamp from Economic Development on the project in Uniondale. And Councilwoman just said we haven't gotten the money yet from Senior Councilwoman Gooseby just said we didn't get it.
Why are you running the clock when I didn't even speak? Who's doing the clock? You're stealing my time. We only have 3 minutes.
It's public comment.
Go on, Ms. Jacobs.
Okay. So, excuse me, my thing is that we need, I asked you this before, you said John Rothkamp was going to get back to me before at a previous meeting. No one gets back to me. Can you stop the clock? I'm looking for an answer.
Commissioner Rodkamp will follow you up right after the meeting.
Right after the meeting?
He's going to walk to the back with you.
Okay, thank you.
John, can you wave? Thank you.
Okay, at the last meeting that I attended here at the town, I spoke concerning the overwhelming number of illegal homes in Uniondale and its degradation to Uniondale's quality of life. My question was, collectively, what initiatives will the town of Hempstead and the county implement to reverse this decline in our quality of life? If the town is sincere about improving the quality of life in Uniondale, you can start by implementing a local law that would mandate homeowners to remove litter and debris from their sidewalks and their curbs, because right now it's a mess. Okay, our sanitation, Department of Sanitation, they are very good, I must say, under the leadership of Commissioner Conroy, but they can't do everything. Onus has to be put on the homeowners. Onus has to be put on the residents. They have to keep, like every other community, I do believe the village of Hempstead has an ordinance where they have to keep in front of their properties clean, or they will get a summons.
It's not used. You come to Hempstead so you can see for yourself. If you drive down Southern State Parkway, drive down Meadowbrook Parkway, you'll see it's not done any place. It's really bad.
I can't hear you, Ms. Councilman.
You can hear me? I said, all you need to do is drive down Southern State Parkway, drive down Meadowbrook, drive into Hempstead, drive on and you'll see how it's being done. They say it, but it's not done.
Well, you know, we need an ordinance. We need a law that would mandate residents, homeowners, or whoever lives in the homes to clean in front of their properties.
We have laws.
No,
And we have people who are supposed
no,
to.
you do not have that on. That is not in effect now, Councilwoman Goolsbee. We need a mandate where homeowners are mandated to clean in front of their properties, or they will be summoned. That's what we need. Homeowners and businesses as well.
Talk to the people in the community about
They or why wouldn't they be for this? Or everyone that I speak with, like-minded people like myself, or
We do issue summonses for homeowners and businesses that have debris on their front lawns and don't maintain their property.
No, you can, who don't maintain their property, who don't cut their lawns. I'm speaking of the sidewalks that are littered and the curbs that are littered.
If sidewalks are blocked and there's pedestrian traffic that's blocked, that's actually written, it's in the disorderly conduct. It is the penal law 240 code. You're impeding pedestrian traffic. That could be written by the Nassau County Police Department.
Well, why does everything fall in the police department?
Not everything falls under the police department, but it's already in the New York State penal law. I didn't write the penal law.
Why can't code enforcement come by, drive through the community and issue summonses to residents that don't clean in front of their properties?
Okay.
If
Thank
you are
Ms. Pearl.
sincere
We
about improving the
appreciate it.
quality of life in our community,
Thank you, Ms. Pearl. Thank
then
you
you
so
would
much.
invoke
I know that Mara, were you going to speak for everybody? Who was going to speak for everybody in that one group? Hi, how you doing? If you give your name, come out of the back of the mic, give your name and address to the record. And Commissioner Rodkamp's going to go to the back room with you right now, Ms. Jacobs. Hi, how you doing? Give your name and address to the record. Thanks.
Mara Jacobowitz, Oakley Road, North Widmere. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm here with my neighbors from Oakley Road, Mr. and Mrs. Kang, Ms. Cohen, Ms. Rosenfeld, Mr. and Mrs. Paul, as well as the darling husband, Mr. Jacobowitz. The reason why I'm here this evening on their behalf, I sent you several months ago a petition with 29 signatures from the neighbors on Oakley Road, as well as to the acting Public Works Commissioner and Ms. Miller's predecessor, Mr. Blakeman, a petition asking the building department to enforce the single-family zone housing regulations for the town. And unfortunately, on Oakley Road, we have a homeowner who is renting the house, a house. He actually owns several houses in North Widmere, but this one in particular is being rented to a woman who, since she rented the house back in February, just before COVID started, she has now rented the various rooms in the house to no fewer than 20 people. We have U-Hauls coming in and out at all times during the day. We have right now between the Kang's house and our house a car that has license plate from Indiana. We've had people stay there over weekends, months, a month, 2 months, 5 months. Mr. Clavin, the bedrock of the town of Hempstead is built on single-family zoning. You and Ms. Miller sent us recently a mailer that you fought, thankfully, the current unelected governor of New York who tried to attach some legislation getting rid of single-family zoning as we know it. And we appeal to you this evening to give us some kind of redress with respect to this landlord.
Right now, Commissioner Jowitz and Deputy Commissioner Leo, you two identify yourself, stand up. If you'd go to the back room right now with the commissioner and the deputy commissioner to talk about the situation, I think that would be, and I believe there's something pending in court and you don't want to divulge that in the public forum. If you want to go in the back and have a discussion with the residents right now, since they're here, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Clavin.
No, thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you might have to wait a minute. It looks like Commissioner Rodkamp or Fred, if you want to take them out to the hallway, since you have a lot of residents here. Marcia DiTieri. Good evening. Your name and address for the
Marcia
record.
DiTieri, Merrick, New York. Before I speak again regarding tree preservation, I'd like to know if you read the email that I sent you yesterday. Supervisor?
Don't recall seeing anything.
These are just a few photos of mature 30-foot trees being cut down. I don't know if someone, should I bring them up?
Nope. Ms. Trinkle's going to take them right now.
Thank you. Please, second term, promises that tree preservation would be on the calendar have long passed. The photos I am giving you are a daily occurrence and aren't slowing down, only increasing. One of the tree killers was posing as I took photos of 3 30-foot trees being cut down. Not funny. More development, no laws protecting healthy, mature trees, no plans for our future or our children's. Don't they deserve a clean environment and enjoy the benefits of Mother Nature? With more pollutants from gas-powered leaf blowers, fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides, increased respiratory disease, our only filtration system is disappearing. Wildlife sanctuaries, clean water, reduced electricity, shade, protection from the effects of the sun are the benefits. The cons are lack of noise buffers and reduced mental health are not being considered. No respect, but governor's plan to urbanize Long Island is pretty much what the town is allowing. Subdivisions, McMansions, cement yards, pools, tall PVC walls, and tents instead of trees to protect people from UV rays. Our township is breaking many records, none of which will benefit us. Highest heat index in the tri-state area last year, increased rodent infestation, more new homes built in more than any other place on Long Island. And even though new preservation laws are in effect in North Hempstead, your promise of new laws have not taken place. The majority of your constituents agree with me. I don't know how much more evidence the board needs to put something into place. Unless you can tell me something different, we've been speaking for almost 3 years about this and prior supervisors. It's going to be irreversible soon. I don't know if you have anything in place.
No, we don't. We don't have. We didn't propose the law yet.
Great.
Okay. Next, I have that might have been Paul Kang. Paul might have gone with the other group. Is there anybody that did not sign in that has not spoken that would like to be heard in the public service? Give your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Supervisor and Board. My name is Ray Aurora from Seaford. I, like you and many of the people on the board, had an occasion to attend the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Wanta Avenue. It's a great event. A lot of people, probably my favorite event of the year. My question is everybody was gathered across the street at the high school. Right across from the shelter. Why wouldn't the town use the parade as an opportunity to showcase the dogs and the animals in the shelter? Whether it be marching the dogs in the parade with the staff or volunteers or opening up the doors. It seems to me, I think I Googled this, I think something was done about 10 years ago, maybe under the Supervisor Murray, but why was that program stopped and why weren't the dogs out there? I mean, it would have been a great occasion for people to showcase, to see these dogs. And I did go to the shelter about 2 months ago with Diane Madden, who does great work on behalf of the animals and everybody in this town, and it's sad to see. But if we put away our political differences, all of our differences, that's a great event, the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And everybody was there. I saw all you guys, everyone was there. Why not take the animals and march them right down the parade and see who wants to adopt? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else that haven't heard would like to speak? If not, I'd say thank you all for coming and enjoy your evening.